Buckle up. Could we be heading into the rockiest week of our year?
We're here because we have reached a point, I think our greatest crisis moment in Kansas City's response to COVID-19.
We have reached a new stage in our fight with this virus.
We'll run out of hospital beds. And not only will we not be able to take care of COVID-19 patients, we won't be able to take care of those who have a heart attack or stroke.
I've never seen anything like this.
There isn't a book to go to tell me how to deal with this.
It's knowing that every day you go in, every patient you take care of is going to have their life in the balance.
Absolutely.
And you have no idea when it's going to end. And you know it's getting worse day by day.
Week in Review is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, Bob and Marlise Gorley, Haas and Wilkerson Insurance, the Courtney S. Turner Charitable Trust, John H. Mize and Bank of America N.A. co-trustees, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nick Haynes, and thank you for joining us on this journey through the news of our week, dissecting the week's top local headlines and trends from 41 Action News. Investigative reporter Kat Reed. From KCMO Talk Radio, Pete Mundo, the managing editor of the Cole newspaper, Eric Wesson. And from the pages of your Kansas City Star, Dave Helling. Most of us in the metro are now living under new emergency restrictions this week. Johnson County forcing bars, restaurants and nightclubs to close at midnight. In Kansas City, Mayor Quinton Lucas going even further, ordering a 10 p.m. shutdown and banning gatherings of more than 10 people.
It relies on folks to follow the rules. It relies on us to enforce the rules. We will continue to enforce the rules, whether it be a U-Haul facility, a club, a bar, or anything of that sort.
Also this week, the Kansas governor enacting a new statewide mask mandate.
We have reached a new stage in our fight with this virus, and how we choose to respond can turn the tide for our businesses, our hospitals, and our schools.
So what has been the reaction so far? We see that the Westport Ale House in Westport has announced it's shutting down, at least until the restrictions are lifted. So has the Mix restaurant downtown. Is there any evidence, Kat Reed, that these latest rules will push more bars, restaurants and stores to permanently close?
Well, really, Nick, I think you're looking at a confluence of factors. It wouldn't be just these rules. It's a combination of factors. We will see more closures, one of which is a lot of Americans don't feel safe dining indoors, and we're heading into a winter season where outdoor dining isn't really going to be an option anymore. On top of that, you have the fact that Congress has not been able to pass a relief package. So additional help for some of these restaurants hasn't come. I saw a kind of shocking statistic recently from the National Restaurant Association, which said they expect 100,000 restaurants to close by the end of 2020.
Have we seen any more closings of any kind announced, though, this week, Eric?
No, I did a couple of interviews, and restaurant owners told me that a 10 o'clock curfew will run people over into Kansas. Like, for an example that he gave was the Chiefs game Sunday is a night game. The game won't be over at 10 o'clock, so people have to leave their restaurants. So they'll either have to go over in Kansas to a restaurant or stay at home and watch the game. That's a lot of people out of money and out of a job.
You mentioned the differences in the time frames here and the time restrictions, and that was a concern for you, Pete. Are we diluting these rules because Johnson County is operating on a totally different set of restrictions?
Yeah, you cross State Line Road and away you go for the second half of the game or the fourth quarter, whatever it might be. I mean, it's just, you know, it's how it's going to be, and people are going to do it. What role does the establishment play in kind of protecting people from themselves, so to speak? And what does that look like? We won't know, and Sunday night's going to be a great example to see how it plays out.
You know, I was looking, Dave, at what these restrictions actually do, and it's certainly in Johnson County, again, which is operating on a much more liberal set of restrictions than the rest of our metro at this point in time. But right there, businesses can stay open till midnight. Rather than restricting gatherings to just 10 in Kansas City, Missouri, in Johnson County, you and 49 of your friends can gather. And there's a huge list of exceptions. Shops, restaurants, bars, gyms, schools, churches, funeral homes don't have to abide by any of these gathering limits. When you look at that, what's left?
Well, there are things that the local authorities could do, but Nick, it's very clear from the orders that have been released in the past 7 days that the enthusiasm for a broad mandated shutdown of our economy just isn't there anymore. The coronavirus is demonstrably worse, more threatening now than it was back in March and April, when we were shutting down, closing schools, literally closing bars and restaurants, and there's just no enthusiasm for doing that among the political leadership. That's one of the reasons why you see such a confusing mishmash, if you will, of different regulations. The other thing is the current spread of the coronavirus, we should keep this in mind, isn't limited to bars and restaurants or schools even. A lot of the transmission of the disease is occurring in homes. Literally, when people come to visit, 2 or 3 people, it's impossible to see how government might regulate that.
In fact, I have a neighbor across the street who is a COVID supervisor who told me exactly what you just said about those small gatherings in homes. That's where they're all coming from, she says. It's people playing cards with another family, or it's a gender reveal party with about 5 or 6 other couples. They all know each other, and every single one of them gets COVID.
Yeah, one of the things that the mayor said at his press conference on Monday was the police officers now mandated to wear masks and first responders, because before that, police weren't wearing masks and they didn't think that they had to. And then we had the outbreak among police officers.
Eric, I actually got a speeding ticket a few months ago from a Kansas City, Missouri police officer not wearing a mask. Am I allowed now to challenge that ticket in court?
I don't even think you can go to court anymore. They do the court virtual.
Okay.
They just take your money now.
Kat, how are leaders going to be actually enforcing any of these new rules?
Well, it depends on where you are. We've seen in KCMO where with previous health orders, some businesses have actually been shut down, at least temporarily, until they started abiding by the orders. In Kansas, it's much more difficult. You don't see quite that immediate action because district attorneys and county attorneys are tasked with enforcing this.
And I did see, you know, this week the Johnson County Commissioner spent a lot of their time debating having a $500 fine, for instance. But there's a $100 fine right now. And what happens? I saw the Kansas City Star editorial board telling the story of Don Chilito's Mexican restaurant in Mission, Kansas, which has actually not abided by the mask mandate since March.
And I think at a time when our liberty is attacked as it is being, that there comes a time when a man has to draw a line in the sand. I feel that it's an encroachment on my civil liberties, my freedom. I think that it's unconstitutional.
So let me get this straight. They're not balking at this latest emergency order. They haven't required their staff or customers to wear masks since the pandemic start, yet they're still open, Pete.
You know, I thought that was an interesting story, and I'm not sure which of our local TV stations did the story that I watched on it, but they interviewed a lady who was there eating, and she was very upset that there was no mask mandate. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, this is the classic case in point where you've got to vote in this case with that restaurant with your dollars. I mean, you got to vote with your wallet. You can't sit there and complain about it while you're eating the food in the restaurant. You just can't do it. One thing from the press conference earlier in the week with Mayor Lucas and Dr. Archer, they did not cite overwhelming evidence of outbreaks happening in restaurants or gyms or bars. We all know late at night people are drinking. You're more likely to obviously lack the social distancing and the masks. But there was really no evidence that they pointed to. And I know that frustrated a lot of restaurant owners who are trying to do things the right way.
Back to Don Chilito's then, Dave, which is the editorial board that launched that story, of course. But it makes it feel like all of these rules, regardless of what public officials are doing, that it's voluntary.
Well, of course, you raised the issue, Nick, of prosecution and enforcement. That's always difficult in these cases. But for Don Chilito's or any restaurant to claim that somehow their freedom is being abridged, restaurants have to follow all kinds of regulations for cleanliness and health. They have to allow inspectors in. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I will say this, just so your audience knows, I plan to go to Don Chilito's today naked because freedom, making me wear clothes, impinges on my freedom. And that's just a fair warning to everyone who may be dining there today that maybe that's something you don't want to see. I mean, it's really foolish to suggest that masks are somehow some libertarian impingement on people's rights. People are dying from this disease. And by the way, healthcare workers are working enormous hours at great risk. And people are complaining about a mask. It just seems silly to us.
Will 41 Action News be coming over to see Dave Helling coming in naked into that
dialing
restaurant?
41 right now, telling them to get to Don Chilito's ASAP. No, what I wanted to point out is that I think across the country with these orders, the initial hope was that they would be more kind of like educational campaigns. And so I think that strategy in Kansas, they're going to have to start maybe taking people to court.
I mentioned all these exemptions in Johnson County to make it sound like, well, who was really being affected? But I was amazed, actually, Pete Mundo. There was one bar owner in one of the television reports, also on 41 Action News, that said he gets 25% of his entire business between the hours of midnight and 2 a.m. I was actually surprised at that.
Well, I mean, that's when the shots start flowing, Nick. I mean, it's been a little bit for you, but that's, when things get going at these places. And the Blue Line in River Market is at least thinking about legal options. It's obviously a place that's open till 3 a.m. A lot of their business is done until then. And that's the give and take of all this, right? Like, I understand we do not want people to contract the virus, but at what economic cost? And I'm not saying anyone's got the perfect answer. Nobody does. But there are real life economic consequences, too, for business owners and employees that have got to be factored in here, I believe, more than some people are giving it credit for.
Well, this week, sad news out of Lee's Summit, where 20 residents have died at the John Knox Village Retirement Facility. More than 150 others have been infected. Now, I thought we'd already learned so many lessons, Kat Reed, after 9 months of going through this pandemic, that these kinds of outbreaks among our most vulnerable citizens were behind us. What went so wrong?
Well, here's the problem. When you have community spread one way or another, that's going to show up in these facilities. It's a major concern when you have more and more people contracting the virus. My colleague, spoke to this nursing home. They said that, it may have been brought in by a patient who leaves for dialysis treatment. So someone leaving the home, then returning. No deficiencies were found in any of the inspection reports for this facility. It appears at this point as though all of the protocols were followed, but when there's so many cases, it's going to find a way in, and it's really sad.
Now, our schools and colleges are also in the spotlight this week. This weekend marks the beginning of Thanksgiving break at the University of Missouri, but administrators on the Columbia campus have now instructed students not to return until the start of the spring semester in January. KU and UMKC also deciding to go online only after Thanksgiving. Local school districts are also responding to rising COVID cases, from Lee's Summit to Blue Springs, from Blue Valley to Shawnee Mission, most of our big districts ending in-person school for middle and high school students. In Lee's Summit and Shawnee Mission, it was a shortage of staff that prompted the move. If that's the case, Eric, do they really have enough teachers to even do school online?
That's an interesting question, and I know they were trying to get college students in to do it as substitute teachers, but my kids have they have one teacher that does in classroom, one teacher that does virtual for each one of their groups.
Well, I think one point that's been made is if you've been exposed to COVID, but you don't have symptoms and you haven't yet tested positive, you can teach virtually, but you obviously wouldn't be going into a school and putting people at risk. So I think there are people who maybe are in isolation who can still teach virtually, but you cannot go to the school to teach in person.
Yeah, but Governor Parson, Mike Parson in Missouri, issued an order, however, telling some school districts that people exposed, students or staff exposed to coronavirus who are asymptomatic can continue to teach and don't need to quarantine. That's largely because, Nick, a lot of rural districts were really running into manpower shortages because folks were staying home. But the idea of relaxing regulations in this regard at schools at a time when cases are exponentially increasing is, for some people at least, problematic.
What did you make of that, Pete?
I understand Governor Parson and what he's trying to do, because we're also seeing here the fact that when you've got kids doing virtual, that overwhelmingly is impacting the poorest kids, and that's in urban Missouri and rural Missouri. That's something they have in common in all this. They're the ones who are getting hurt the most, whether it's because of two working parents, a single parent who's got to go to work. They don't have that oversight that many in suburban America do right now, and I think that Governor Parson is understanding that for the urban and rural dynamics in the state.
Schools are an enormous problem, Nick. They really are. We talked to Laura Kelly, the governor of Kansas, yesterday. You remember she shut down schools, one of the first governors in the nation to do so back in the spring. She has no appetite for doing that again. Online learning has turned out to be pretty problematic across a range of issues. It's just a tough problem, and no one has come up with a perfect solution.
With few hospital beds now available across the metro, local health leaders now worrying where they're actually going to put their patients. Is this the week all elective surgeries are cancelled?
We'll run out of hospital beds. And not only will we not be able to take care of COVID-19 patients, we won't be able to take care of those who have a heart attack or stroke.
The University of Kansas health system already postponing some elective surgeries to free up bed space. Administrators at several other area medical centers say they're monitoring which patients can safely delay surgery without compromising their health. Meanwhile, Research Medical Center is now bringing in nurses from New Orleans to supplement staff on its patient floors. And that's an interesting turn of events. At the start of the pandemic, wasn't Kansas City sending nurses to New Orleans because they were one of the country's worst hit cities, Kat?
Yeah, exactly. And now they're returning the favor. I think the concern you're going to see is, as so many parts of the country continue seeing a rise in cases, where do the nurses come from? Where do you send people in from to relieve us? Because they'll be needed where they're from.
There's talk actually of opening field hospitals in Kansas City to house these patients. Dr. Rex Archer, Eric Wesson saying this week, the public health director in Kansas City, Missouri, that's not going to work because really the issue is not just beds themselves, it's actually the staffing. They simply won't have the staff.
Yeah, and that's what he was talking about at the press conference. But I think one of those places that they had was the arena right there in Independence off of I-70. That would be a satellite location. But the issue remains how you staff it, because the staff that are given the test are oftentimes testing positive as well, and they have to go into quarantine. So I don't know where all these people are going to come from.
Is part of that relaxing the actual medical rules? I see in North and South Dakota, which are the highest infected states currently in the country, they did change the rules, Dave Helling. They said that if you're a nurse, you've tested positive for COVID, you can still work with patients because they are so desperate right now. In fact, they're bringing in patients to Kansas City 10 hours away because they don't have enough beds. So if not that, what is the next step?
Well, that may well be something that the local health authorities pursue, Nick. But boy, if you want to be terrified, take a look at North and South Dakota, which were rather libertarian in their approach to restrictions on COVID. The idea that this is the end of it or that these restrictions or changes in this discussion, I think, is very wrong and misguided. We'll have more lockdowns, more restrictions to come, and more sorrow when more people get sick and more people die over the next couple of weeks.
Well, actually, the editorial board, said that these restrictions weren't enough, that they were not going to contain the virus. Why?
Ultimately, anyone depending on the government to protect themselves from this virus are largely going to be disappointed. The governor in Missouri, and to some degree even the governor in Kansas, the mayor, they have COVID fatigue too. They understand that lockdowns aren't going to work. You have to take it on yourself to protect yourself from this virus. You just have to. You can't depend on the governor protecting you. He doesn't care about whether you're going to get sick or not as much as you do.
This week, the Missouri legislature, by the way, was scheduled to vote on a $1.2 billion COVID-related budget. Instead, the special session had to be abruptly halted after a virus outbreak among lawmakers. Legislators now won't return to finish their business until after Thanksgiving. That session, by the way, is also expected to take up legislation shielding nursing homes and businesses from virus-related lawsuits. So, Pete, if you got sick from going to a restaurant, or you got sick in a hospital waiting room, or you have a loved one who dies from COVID in a nursing home, you won't be able to sue?
Well, here's the thing, Nick. I mean, I think that that's one of those things that's very important to look at from the state and hopefully the federal level as well. If there isn't another COVID relief bill, liability protection has got to be in there because you've got small businesses that if they are at fear of being sued, if they open back up when hopefully, a vaccine comes in and we can get back to a sense of normalcy, it's a tough way to run a business. Now, I understand there's a massive gray area here in that pinpointing that you got COVID from that establishment is very difficult to do. But there's a lot of small businesses who are going to be sitting there and saying, am I liable to multiple lawsuits if and when I can start opening things back up again? So it's something that should be looked at the state level, but also should be part of a potential federal package as well.
But couldn't you say if you went to Don Cholitos and none of the staff were wearing masks, they were providing you the food, that you might have a case for negligence there, Kat?
I think that they could face issues because according to the legislation as it's drafted, you can still sue if they weren't following federal, state, and local safety protocols. So that is the area where you could pursue litigation.
Kat is exactly right. And even if they say, well, do I open myself up to lawsuits? Are they doing everything that they're supposed to do? Is it sanitary? Are they having 150 and 200 people at funerals or at church services violating the local ordinances there? So they have a responsibility. They can't just say, well, I'm a small business and I can't do that. They have to have some precautions that they're taking.
To all of that, I agree with that to a degree. But at the same time, one thing we've spent this whole show talking about is we really don't have an exact idea of how, where, when this thing is being contracted. So we all know the trial attorneys are going to be going nuts over this here over the next few months. There's got to be some protection, and more than there appears to be right now.
On the other hand, just quickly, Nick, the story broke yesterday that supervisors at a food processing plant in Iowa were taking bets on how many workers would get COVID-19. They don't deserve a get-out-of-jail-free card, which is what a federal liability protection law would do. There has to be a middle ground to hold people responsible for irresponsible behavior as we go forward.
And so Missouri lawmakers will be taking that up again when they come back in Thanksgiving. There is actually some good news for lawmakers this week. A state compensation panel finds Missouri elected officials are underpaid and are calling for 5% raises for the governor and lawmakers. In Missouri, raises for elected officials are determined by an independent pay commission. So if the legislature doesn't reject this latest recommendation by February 1st, the pay hikes will go into effect automatically. This apparently would be the first pay hike in 14 years. Don't they deserve a little more, Eric?
Certainly. In these day and times, they certainly do deserve a little bit more.
I'm just going to say they deserve a lot more. Now, what I've said and written is they don't deserve benefits. They don't deserve a pension. They don't deserve other benefits, but pay them for their time. It's a temporary job of public service. But yeah, legislators in Kansas and Missouri deserve to make a lot more money, in my view.
For those who are curious, this would bring lawmakers' pay in Missouri to $37,711. Now, I was just looking at what some other states pay their legislators. California, $110,000, Pennsylvania, $88,000, $71,000 in Michigan, and $65,000 in Illinois. What do these state legislatures do that Missouri lawmakers don't? Are they really deserving of being paid twice or in some cases 3 times as much, Kat?
Well, a lot of people would say no, that the Missouri legislators should be making more. And for that matter, Kansas legislators could be making more. Although there's something kind of interesting about this. People have said that the reason why we should raise salaries is because it could attract more people to the office, more economic diversity in the makeup of the legislature. But a Duke University study actually found that it doesn't do much to make it a more diverse body. In fact, it's about the same, because when people really need the money is when they're trying to run for office and get into office. So I do think that's interesting. It's a reason often listed, but might not kind of bear out in the long run.
Pay raises don't happen very often, though, in legislatures, Pete, because it's always a real big negative with the public, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, I know that this is not like, hey, if we don't give them the 5% raise, we're going to save a ton of money and that's going to allow us to balance the budget. I understand that's not going to happen, but it's the optics of it in a year when everybody's hurting to be raising lawmakers' pay. I realize it's very low in both our states, but I just think the optics of that would be just awful right now.
By the way, Kansas lawmakers get paid slightly differently. They get paid for a chunk of money for every day they're in session, plus an extra allowance for food and housing. The typical Kansas legislator makes about $21,900, according to a report from the legislature's audit division. So if anyone needs a pay raise, it should be Kansas lawmakers, Dave.
Well, exactly right. They're underpaid. And remember, those other states that you mentioned, like California, some other places, their legislatures meet the year around the entire year. So it really is more of a full-time job than maybe it is in Missouri or Kansas.
Now, when you put a program like this together every week, you can't get to every big story making the headlines. What was the big story we missed? Say it isn't so. Are we hoarding toilet paper again? Kansas Cityans frustrated by empty shelves. It's supposed to be a time to gather and say thanks, but Mayor Lucas begging Kansas Cityans to find another way to say thanks next week.
We recommend folks cancel at least the normal version of their Thanksgiving plans.
Upending another holiday tradition, no crowds allowed at next week's Plaza lighting ceremony. It'll be a TV event only. It's bridge versus truck, and for the second time in the same week, this bridge wins. Kansas City police say just because we're in a pandemic, traffic rules still apply, and so do the laws of science. And the Chiefs may be dominating local sports coverage, but don't forget our hometown soccer team, Sporting KC, heading to the playoffs this weekend. They play San Jose Sunday at Children's Mercy Park. Eric Wesson, was it one of those stories or something completely different?
Mine is completely different. I think the issue with Josh Hawley not having a permanent Missouri address is an issue that needs to be discussed, because remember when he was running for Senate, he went after former Senator Claire McCaskill for the same thing of having a D.C. address and flying back and forth.
Does it make it better, though, that he says he is building a house in Missouri? It's just not completely built yet?
I don't think there's a clause in there that gives you the authority to do that. It says that you have to maintain a residency.
All righty. Dave Helling.
Lori Elam, who is the Democratic director of the Kansas City Election Board, was on the PBS NewsHour this week, Nick, on Channel 19, KCPT. And she was talking about the results of this year's election, and she teared up a little bit because she and others were saying there is no fraud, and it is an insult to election workers to claim that there were widespread problems with this year's election. That's a message we ought to listen to.
Kat Reed.
I'm going with empty shelves because I'm working on a story about this currently. What's going on with the supply chain, which stores are limiting how much you can buy, which stores are not. And so that will be airing Monday morning on 41 Action News.
Pete.
Stop hoarding the toilet paper, folks, please. Did we learn anything from the spring? I mean, my goodness, it's ridiculous that this is happening. Get what you need and leave the rest for some of us.
And on that, I will say our week has been reviewed. Thank you, Kat Reed from 41 Action News, Eric Wesson from The Call, The Star's Dave Helling, and 6 to 10 weekday mornings on KCMO Talk Radio, Pete Mundo. Our Kansas City PBS membership drive begins on Thanksgiving Day, so we won't be here next week. Wow, I get time off? Until we meet again, from all of us here at your favorite public television station, keep calm and please don't hoard the toilet paper. Happy Thanksgiving.